All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a story about ambition, about failure, and a disaster so huge it literally changed the way we build our world. This is the incredible story of the St. Francis Dam.
Picture this. It's just 3 minutes to midnight in a quiet canyon north of LA. A massive 200-foot wall of concrete is holding back 12 billion gallons of water. And then it begins to fail. You can almost imagine the sound, a deep groan from the concrete, a final warning before total catastrophe. What happened next was just a biblical-level flood. A massive wall of water and debris tore through the valley, traveling 54 miles, all the way to the Pacific Ocean. It wiped out farms, entire communities, and tragically, it took the lives of an estimated 400 people. It's still one of the deadliest man-made disasters in the history of the United States.
So the big question is, how did this happen? How did a modern marvel, a symbol of progress, turn into a weapon of mass destruction practically overnight? That's what we're going to unpack in this explainer. Not just how it fell, but why its tragic legacy is the very reason we are safer today.
Okay, so to really get why this dam failed, you have to understand the man who built it. A man whose reputation was, well, as colossal as the dam itself. At the center of everything is this guy, William Mulholland. And he wasn't just an engineer. He was a self-taught titan of the industry. People saw him as a hero, the man who brought water to a thirsty, booming Los Angeles. Back in the 1920s, what Mulholland said went. His word was basically gospel, built on years of experience and gut instinct, not so much on the new emerging science of geology.
You see, the St. Francis Dam, this was supposed to be his masterpiece. A huge reservoir that would be the final, critical piece of his grand plan to secure LA's future. Instead, it became the monument to his greatest failure. But here's the thing. From the very moment they broke ground, this impressive dam was being built on a secret. A series of fatal flaws buried deep beneath the canyon floor. And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of the problem. You had the old way versus the new way. Mulholland was the king of the old way, where the gut feeling of one famous expert was all the proof you needed. This disaster would force a painful but absolutely necessary shift to the new way.
So, what was the biggest mistake? It all came down to the geology. One side of the dam was anchored into a rock called schist, which has these layers, kind of like a deck of cards. The problem is, when water gets in between those layers, the whole thing gets incredibly slippery. And the other side, get this, it was built on top of an old, ancient landslide. I mean, you literally couldn't have picked a worse spot.
And if that wasn't bad enough, it gets worse. During construction, they decided to make the dam 10 feet taller, so it could hold more water. This added a tremendous amount of new stress to that already shaky foundation, and unbelievably, they didn't really redesign the dam to handle all that extra weight. So you can see how this all played out. It was a domino effect, a deadly chain reaction. First, water from the reservoir seeped deep into that layered rock. Then, the water pressure started to build up between the layers. This is something called uplift pressure. It literally started to lift the dam from below. Finally, that slippery eastern side just gave away, triggering a landslide. And with its footing gone, the rest of that colossal concrete dam just tore itself apart in a matter of minutes. So after this unimaginable destruction, the public was understandably traumatized, and they wanted answers. They wanted to know who was accountable for this nightmare. Mulholland himself, completely shattered, went to see the devastation for himself. As he looked at the ruin that his creation had caused, he reportedly uttered those haunting words, "I envy the dead." And that wasn't just a private moment of grief. At the official coroner's inquest, in front of everyone, he didn't make excuses. He didn't point fingers. He famously took all of the responsibility on his own shoulders. So what was the verdict? Well, legally, he was cleared of any criminal charges. The official findings said it was an honest misinterpretation. But professionally, his career was over. Absolutely finished. And this was more than just one man's downfall. This was the end of an era. The idea of the infallible hero engineer who could do no wrong, that died with the St. Francis Dam. But here's the incredible part of this story. Out of all that loss, a revolution in engineering safety was born. This single collapse became the catalyst for the safety standards that we all take for granted today. Just look at the difference here, the before and after. It's a night and day shift. Before, you had one person with all the authority. After, independent peer review became mandatory. Before, a quick look at the ground was good enough. After, you had to do rigorous geological testing. It was a complete 180, a whole new way of thinking. And it was all because of this one disaster. Basically, this disaster forced engineering and geology to get married. They became inseparable. You see, it made understanding the ground you're building on just as critical as the design of the structure itself. Today, that idea is fundamental. It's a non-negotiable part of any huge construction project. And that is a direct legacy of the St. Francis Dam. It's a really sobering legacy when you think about it. The victims of this disaster paid the ultimate price. They paid in advance for the safety rules that protect millions of us today. Anyone who lives downstream from a dam, or drives over a bridge, or relies on any other massive piece of modern infrastructure. You know, this whole story is such a powerful reminder that expertise, even from the best of the best, absolutely needs checks and balances. And it leaves us with a really important question for our own time. Where else in our world, whether it's in technology or finance or anywhere else, might we be putting a little too much faith in a single hero without the critical oversight that this disaster proved is so, so vital?